I fly the F-16, and I'm probably the luckiest man in the world because I get to do that every day.
Technically, we are still at war with North Korea. We know that we could be fighting at any moment's notice.
The Wolfpack, next. Kunsan, South Korea, an airbase ready for war. Just over the horizon, a belligerent neighbor and 800 MiG fighters.
Well, we woke up at 3:30 this morning, got up, got ready to go to work. Bus picked us up at 4:15. We finally got in the squadron about 4:05. The F-16 were multi-role, so we can, we can drop bombs, we can shoot missiles, we can go out and dogfight, we can do casts to support the Army. So there's so much we can do in the F-16.
The F-16, found wherever there is war or the threat of war, from the Middle East to the Far East. In Korea, on the front line, its tactics and capabilities are classified.
Ready to go to war, here we go.
Lieutenant Matt Manifold, tactical name, Picasso.
We'll meet at the ops desk, we'll get a final weather update. If there's something wrong with the airfield, maybe we're changing runways.
An F-16 pilot in a fighter wing known as the Wolfpack. At this most isolated U.S. airbase, he leads a life dedicated to the practice of his deadly trade.
We're going to go out and do some suppression mission, supporting about 4 or 5 other packages that are out there flying. The Kunsan is like the last place where, fighter pilots are fighter pilots. That's the biggest thing. We get over here, no one has their families. 100% we spend on flying.
North and South Korea remain deadlocked in a state of war, separated by a truce constantly violated. If they clash once again, the Wolfpack will be the tip of the American spear. Kunsan is an airbase in a condition of extreme readiness. On the tense 38th parallel, a demilitarized zone separates north from south. Here the Cold War lives on. 2 generations of South Koreans have lived under the threat of renewed war. They rebuild their economy and culture under the protection of the fighter pilots at Kunsan. The Wolfpack's commander, Colonel David Moody.
We are one of 2 of the most lethal fighter wings in the United States Air Force. It's stationed right here on the peninsula of South Korea. And our main job in life here is to protect the peninsula and to keep peace here. We bring to bear an overwhelming firepower to the war if need be. We're less than 10 minutes away from the border of North Korea by aircraft, by F-16s, and we grow to be probably the largest fighter wing in the war if we're called to do so.
Biggest thing on the ground is obviously getting the jet ready to go, get her ready to go, make sure she's ready to fly, and the crew chiefs get her ready, and then I just do all my pre-flight checks. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always been fascinated with airplanes. Growing up in Dayton, Ohio, the birthplace of aviation with the Wright brothers, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Dayton Air Show, all that stuff is what really drove me to just love airplanes. My uncle's father had a plane. when I was little, and he used to take me up flying it a lot, and always been fascinated with airplanes and just, you know, love to want to do it and fly it, and it's a dream come true for me. We're pressing out with about 16 airplanes, and so getting everybody organized on the ground, you know, find out if everyone's going to make it. Is, you know, are people going to break? Are people going to meet us late? Who's ready to go? Who's taxiing? Who's going to meet us out there once we get out there?
The start of a 2-week test of combat readiness. Pilots will fly 3 exhausting sorties a day. The PAC's 2 squadrons will fill the sky with packages of 20 F-16's at a time. The rush and surge of the real thing. The Wolfpack goes to war.
We all need to get to runway, and we all need to get out of there. So we got another crew down there of crew chiefs and weapons guys that look us over again right before we get ready to take off, and then we all get lined up there right at the end of the runway. You know, you got to constantly be updating the scenario that we're playing here during the simulated war. You got to update the weather, the NOTAMs. You know, the commanders are making different decisions. They're changing your package, or they're changing your targets. The best thing you do during exercise is get some sleep, so everything's clear once you show up at the jet. That's the biggest thing. And you got to be real flexible up in the air and on the ground as well, because you never know. You might get on the ground and the fuel truck won't be there, or you might get up in the air and the package has slipped or the target has moved. The greatest thing about it is you're here for a year to be a fighter pilot, and you get training here, you get a lot of good flying. There's a lot of great pilots to learn from you. I'm just a young lieutenant here trying to do the best I can. The airspace is a lot different over Korea. It's a lot more free than it is in the United States.
Deflection, 0730.
Fire!
The airport perimeter is defended against ground attack. The intensity of the exercise mounts until finally the base is bombarded with simulated chemical weapons.
2 days ago, we woke up and realized that we were simulating that the North Koreans were shelling us with chemical weapons. Your heart kind of sinks a little bit because you know it's going to be a long day. You put that mask on, as soon as you put it on, you know it's going to be hours before you can take it off. You're sweating a lot, it's tough to move around, it's harder to breathe, and it's harder to see. But in the end, you know that you're going to be dropping bombs, that's going to make it all worth it.
Lieutenant Bo Rogers, tactical name Riddler. He is also a wingman, the junior pilot in the basic air combat team of 2 aircraft.
An exercise, for the most part, tries to simulate a real war. So you take our normal flying and you add another level to it. You make it a little more demanding. Again, we call it a little more push it up because you're always in a hurry. You don't have time to really sit around and think because there's a war going on. So in that limited amount of time, we have to brief 2 missions plus get everything ready to actually go fly. We have a limited amount of time when we're airborne. We have a limited amount of fuel. So we want to make sure that every second counts when we're airborne. As a new guy, you just can't jump in the seat and know everything that you're supposed to do. So as a wingman, that gives you a chance for about 300 hours, maybe even a little more. You have a chance to fly with a flight lead and learn everything he has to offer. The squadron is only as good as the wingmen are. So it's a constant passing down of knowledge. We're taking a 4-ship, we're going up to Osan, and we're just going to troll around there and try to find the downed airmen. And then we're still going to drop, though. There's a radar site about 20 miles out on the west coast, 20 miles west of Osan. We're going to drop on that as well, so it should come back with no bombs. But it could be a long mission, probably like 1.5 for Siri. You don't actually sit in the F-16, you strap it on. And that's what it's like when you fly it. You're out there on the very front, and you've got all this thrust at your fingertips. It is just amazing, the feeling of being able to fly this plane. There's not a time that I take off and fly that I'm not in awe at the aircraft that I'm sitting in. It's a fly-by-wire, so the computer takes care of a lot of the flight controls. And what that allows me to do is focus more time on working the radar, figuring out where I'm supposed to drop my bombs, and less time actually flying the airplane. You know, most people, when they fly a plane, that's their mission, is to fly the plane. Well, here, flying is secondary. What's primary is putting our bombs on target or employing an air-to-air missile against an enemy.
Fighter pilots are joined by tradition. Each wing, each squadron has its own rich heritage. Badges and symbols, names, gestures, slogans.
Everyone says you gotta go to Kunsan and you gotta be a Juvat. Aldunus Fortunis Juvat means fortune favor the bold. We've adopted that just to Juvat for bold, so we call ourselves the Juvats. And another real rich in tradition thing we do is the snakes. The two snakes that you'll see all the pilots do, including the crew chiefs. And even when you're back in the States, people will always snake if they're from the Juvats. We're officially called the Headhunters because when we were flying in New Guinea in World War II, one of our pilots got shot down and he was befriended by the natives who were headhunters. Well, we adopted the Headhunters as our mascot, and we've been headhunters ever since.
Full F-16 on the runway.
Though isolated and bleak, Kunsan is one of the most sought-after postings for fighter pilots. In any future war, the experience gained here may ensure a pilot's survival.
Crucial 5 gets his long way. 273 miles.
So I was really excited. I actually volunteered for this assignment. I couldn't wait to get here. It's just flying, flying, flying 365 days a year. And that's very attractive, especially as a new guy. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That way, when I get out of here in a year, I am well ahead of my peers who went to other flying bases as their first time. The territory that we fly over and a lot of our targets that we use are points that were really used in an actual war. Because we have communists just 100 miles north, the threat is very real. We are reminded every time we take off, especially when our missions go up north, just how close we are to the communists. The Korean is under a ceasefire, not under a truce, so technically we are still at war with North Korea. And this hits home every time we take off, put gear in the well. We know that we could be fighting at any moment's notice.
Korea, where jet first meets jet in aerial combat, where fighter planes with propellers are driven from the skies, obsolete overnight. Almost half a century has passed since the North invaded in June 1950, yet American soldiers still trudge through the barren Korean hills in the steps of their fathers and grandfathers. Korea is familiar ground to the Wolfpack, the 8th Fighter Wing. Sergeant Roscoe Rossi is the Wolfpack historian.
The 8th Wing was the first unit that was called upon to get into Korea in order to assess what was going on, but more importantly, to get embassy personnel out of Seoul. At that point, of course, Kunsan took on much more importance. We needed runways on the peninsula. So in '51, basically, you have an engineer group shows up. They do incredible work. They do it very quickly. And in a matter of a couple of months, you have an airfield, 5,000-foot runway. We were just transitioning to the F-80 when the war kicked off. The F-80 was America's first true jet aircraft.
During the Second World War, the race to build a jet fighter They are tested in secret, flown from hidden airfields. Many Allied World War pilots will fly them in Korea. A Canadian veteran of both wars, Omer Levesque, catches glimpses of early jets in both Britain and Germany.
One day I was taking off in a hurricane and then saw something go by. It was mentioned, was quite secret, had no propellers that you could see on it, and you wondered how it could fly. It was a Gloucester Meteor, a very short-looking and straight-wing aircraft. It was in the process of research and development. I was shot down in February 1942. They moved us 10 miles from our camp, and I had a chance to see this jet, no propeller on it, going very, very fast.
Levesque had spotted one of Germany's experimental jet aircraft. The Germans win the race. The first operational jet is the Messerschmitt Me-262, one of Hitler's wonder weapons. They are too few and too late to alter the course of the war.
And that got me really excited, and I thought after coming back, if I could fly, that's what I would do.
Levesque gets his chance to fly jet fighters. He trains in a Vampire, now a museum piece, then becomes an RCAF exchange pilot in the United States.
First time I got in a jet was in a Vampire at St. Hubert, and it was extremely smooth, and it was like being next to an electric dynamo or motor. It was a small jet. It was built in 1943. The canopy is so far forward, your wings are further back, and you're wondering if you're in the air without wings.
Levesque and other pilots in his U.S. squadron keep a close watch on events in far-off Korea. China enters the war, and a new and deadly aircraft enters the air battle. Overnight, the MiG-15 establishes communist air superiority over Korea. Lumbering old B-29 and B-26 bombers brought out of mothballs are sitting ducks for the swift fighters. In 4 raids, 4 B-29s are shot down. The bombing is halted. Allied aircraft in Korea are the best of their class. The P-38 Lightning, the P-51 Mustang, Navy and Marine bent-wing Corsairs. These are the ultimate piston engine fighters. With the advent of the jet, they're destined for the scrapyard. The bombers are defenseless. To the shock of the American command, even the U.S. jet fighters rushed to Korea are totally outclassed. F-80 Shooting Stars, Thunderjets, Panthers, all are easy prey to the MiG-15. It's 100 miles an hour faster than any fighter flown against it. The Americans have one lethal air weapon in reserve, the F-86 Saberjet. As aircraft losses mount, the Sabres are ordered to Korea. Omer Levesque is at the controls of one of the Sabres.
I was checked out on the Sabre, and it was flying me. I wasn't flying it. It was a totally different aircraft, even more advanced and so much faster. And the response at any speed on a climb, you're always climbing as fast as you wanted, and you could cruise as fast as you wanted. The Americans picked up the Messerschmitt 262 after the war and brought quite a few in the USA after their research. And Wind Tunnel found out that the sweep back on the Messerschmitt 262 added to speed and stability. So they built up the Sabre with a sweep back of 35 degrees. And that made the whole difference in the world. It became what you call a superstar of aircraft. So the difference was tremendous in every way. The Germans didn't have dive brakes on the aircraft. On the Sabre, on the back end, you could open your dive brake at the speed of sound and it won't come apart. More than that, you could go over the speed of sound.
For the rest of the war, Sabres dominate airspace over North Korea. They hold the MiG-15s at the line of the Yalu River, Miguel. Bombers and fighter bombers roam the north with impunity. Omer Levesque, with 4 kills in World War II, becomes an ace with his Sabre jet.
I got my 5th aircraft in Korea, fighting a MiG-15 in 1950. What happened that day, we went up, rendezvous with a B-29. We were to escort them to the Yalu. We knew the MiGs were coming up. And we could see the dust kicking up from the ground, and it will be about 8-9 minutes, and sure as can be, they were up in great number this time. Must have been 30, 35 of them, and they bounced us just about. At first, we were being chased. I got out of that one from my tail, and then I turned around, and there was still one chasing in the formation, so I went after him, and he was diving and turning to the left, and I got inside him and kept on firing, and I didn't see anything except that after a while, he started pulling to the side and diving, further steeper dive. We're getting pretty close to the ground at that time. I didn't see him come out.
After a year and a half of back-and-forth ground fighting, the front stabilizes at the old 38th parallel demarcation line. The two sides seek to negotiate a ceasefire. Talks at Kunsan and Panmunjom take 2 years. But the air war goes on. By the start of the truce, July 1953, the Sabres have shot down 10 MiG-15s for every Sabre jet lost. Then a North Korean defector, No Kam-sok, flies a MiG to South Korea.
Now war was already over. Why should I gamble my life? But then my thought came to me was that how could I live under this kind of a restrictive, most rigid communist country? Then I took a chance and turned the plane to the south. And then I just dashed down toward the Kimpo Air Base. But I was thinking of impending dangers, the F-86 anti-aircraft guns, and also landing on the runway itself. As soon as I saw the airfield, I saw that the F-86 were coming down from the other side, and one plane was landing, so I thought that he might have seen me. So I came down, and I tried to land, but he was coming down at the same time. As soon as I landed the plane and parked beside the F-86, I just opened the canopy, and I just jumped out of the plane. And then I just looked at the F-86 beside me, and he just jumped over to me, and we shook hands.
The Americans had tried desperately to get their hands on a MiG. They offered a $100,000 reward. No Kam-sok, who today teaches aeronautical engineering in Florida, risked his life, not knowing a reward had been posted. At a base in Okinawa, test pilot Chuck Yeager, the first man to fly through the sound barrier, and Tom Collins wring out the MiG-15 and extracted secrets. They will push it to the limit and beyond. Like the Sabre jet, the MiG-15 owes a great deal to German aeronautical engineering. From some angles, it looks so much like the Sabre, pilots have trouble telling friend from foe. It is powered by a direct copy of a British Rolls-Royce engine. In the tests, a Sabre jet acts as chase plane. The MiG climbs higher and faster than the Sabre, but in sham dogfights, Yeager comes out on top in either aircraft. The experienced pilot, he tells his opponent, is always going to whip your ass. Yeager almost loses his life in the MiG-15. Its controls become useless as it nears Mach 1 in a vertical dive. He regains control only when the aircraft enters heavier air near the ground. From Korea to the present, the race between East and West to develop a dominant jet fighter has never ended. The F-16 is one of the finest aircraft to emerge from that race. The Wolfpack gets its F-16s when it returns to South Korea. For 10 years, the pack fought MiG-21s in the skies over North Vietnam. After analyzing Vietnam air battles, the Pentagon launched a competition for a lightweight fighter. The General Dynamics F-16, small and agile, won that competition. By assigning the battle-tested Wolfpack with its lethal F-16s to Kunsan, the U.S. sends a strong message to North Korea, a renewal of commitment in an area where Cold War confrontation is a way of life.
The F-16 certainly is a very visible indication of our very tangible commitment to this country. And the North Koreans know it. And every time we exercise, every time we take those planes off the runway, those afterburners kick in, they realize that we have no intention of leaving.
The F-16 has been described as a feather-light composite airframe bolted to a powerful afterburning jet engine. Captain Andy Hecht, tactical name Mayo, one of the Wolfpack's top pilots.
One of the unique things about the F-16 is it's the only single-seat, single-engine fighter in the Air Force inventory. And there's a lot of heritage that goes back with it. It's fly-by-wire. Traditionally, aircraft have a stick in the center of the airplane. Our stick is on the side. It doesn't move, but 1/16 of an inch. So it's all based on pressure. It's got one very powerful motor. Thrust-to-weight ratio is greater than 1, so you can, in a clean jet, go uphill and accelerate. It can carry air-to-ground ordnance. It can carry air-to-air ordnance. It can do both jobs very well. One of the unique features about this aircraft, as you can see from this angle, is the motor. It puts about 30,000 pounds of thrust out, and as you walk along the length of the airplane, you can see it takes up the entire length of the airplane, that single motor. So it's one extremely large motor that you're sitting on top of, essentially. From this angle, you can see one of our missile rails. We can carry different types of air-to-air missiles on this, and then another missile rail right here that has an AIM-9 on it, which is a heat-seeking missile. And this is a trainer variety, so it's not going to blow up or anything on us right here. As we move inboard, we've got a weapons pile on here, and this can carry anything from bombs to air-to-air missiles. And essentially, in a normal combat load for us, we'll carry a bomb here, and we'll carry 2 air-to-air missiles on this rail and on that rail.
Okay, the F-16 is a multi-role fighter, so we're going to do both an air-to-air and an air-to-ground mission. This right here is an air-to-ground munition, the Mark 84, basically a general-purpose bomb, 2,000 pounds. It'll drop off the airplane, has a fuse built into its nose. Once it hits the ground, it's going to explode, and it has about 1,000 pounds of ordnance inside, dynamite, TNT. These are smaller Mark 82s. Obviously, we can carry a lot more of these on the F-16. Again, general purpose. Once they hit the ground, they're going to explode and do their damage there. For heat-seeking, we'll carry the AIM-9 missile there, and we'll also carry the AMRAAM, the AIM-120 missile, which is our radar-guided version of the air-to-air missile. Another kind of bombs that we drop off the F-16 is called a CBU-87. It's a cluster bomb munition. Basically has 202 small bomblets inside of the canisters, hand grenades, if you will. And basically what these do, they'll fly off the F-16, get to a certain height above the ground, and lay a blanket of these bomblets.
The F-16 cockpit is designed to allow the pilot's hands to sit comfortably on the throttle and stick.
We have the throttle that's in our left hand that controls the thrust, and there's buttons on here that control communications and other features. And our right hand is the stick. This controls the flight controls and how we fly. The pickle button, which drops our bombs and our HARM missiles and all the air-to-air missiles, is on my thumb, and my trigger controls the gun. The F-16 has got a 20-millimeter Gatling gun that shoots at 6,000 rounds per minute, which is 100 bullets per second. So we mean it very literally when we say that we've got a lot of weaponry at our fingertips. Next, right in the middle, between our legs, is the ejection handle. If things get bad, this is what we pull on to get us out of the cockpit.
Sensors automatically turn the seat right side up. a pilot can eject 300 feet over the ground upside down. A fully open parachute drops him safely.
One of the primary things that makes a fighter different than most aircraft is the heads-up display. This is right in front of the pilot, and it projects an image on the glass that we're able to look through while we're flying and get essential information on the threat, where we're dropping our bombs, and other information like airspeed and altitude.
To track towards the target, which is that orange water tower.
This is basically where we keep all the stuff that we need to plan our everyday missions. We have maps with canned steer points, maps with targets, our flight planning computer where we can type it all in and print out our lineup cards that we fly with every day. This is called a DTC, a data transfer cartridge. It takes all the information that we can load here on the ground so we can put it in the jet. It saves us from typing a lot of information, basic navigation, steer points, weaponry, how we want our radar modes to be set up. It sets up the information, lets the computer know where we want to go, what kind of bombs that we want to drop, where we want certain missiles set up on the aircraft, and basically sets up all your symbology in your HUD so that when you do roll in for attack, all your information will be set up already.
This jet can punish your body. You're hard-pressed to go into a F-16 squadron and not find somebody who has neck problems, not find somebody who has back problems. You can pull 9 Gs in this aircraft and it can do some serious damage to you. Guys go to the gym a lot, is what they do. You find if you're not in good shape, then you're not going to be able to use the aircraft to its potential. The jet will outperform the body.
Oftentimes when you're doing a high G turn, it will force blood from areas up in your head down into your legs and feet, okay? Decreasing your ability to not only see, but also use your mental functions.
To hurl a 9G airframe around the sky, a pilot must be in superb physical condition. Pilots at Kunsan put in so much cockpit time, many suffer from G measles, burst capillaries.
You can go ahead and perform the Valsalva maneuver. Great. Pilots often have to be aware of the different symptoms that are involved, what we call hypoxia, which is low oxygen levels. Other major problems is pressure. They can go from different altitudes very quickly with very large changes in pressures. And even something as minor as a mild cold can limit the ability of sinuses and the ears of equalizing pressures. So pilots constantly have to be in a full state of health. Turn the light here, we should look right here at my nose. Okay. They're tested extensively for all types of vision, including depth perception, distant vision, near vision, color vision. You should look right here at my finger. As being a single pilot in an aircraft, they're often up there by themselves. So if we can keep them healthy, that's just one less thing they have to worry about in the air. Follow it in.
The Wolfpack's F-16's in their concrete-hardened Quonset huts get the same meticulous care as their pilots. Each squadron has 250 skilled maintenance personnel. Captain Michel Lamontagne is squadron maintenance supervisor.
When you get a chance, can you meet me at floor 1, please? So during the flying day, there's actually like maintenance going on. At the same time, there's flying going on. And there's a lot of people that are involved with that also. And say they go up and fly the first go, they come back broke. And we have to fix them before the next time they go up. So that's a big part of it too, is prioritizing what needs to be done. How's it going?
It's going good. We just finished downloading 511 rounds. After the exercises, jets going into our load barn. So all ammunition.
Each aircraft has a dedicated crew chief and team of technicians. During the exercises, many leave the hangar area only to sleep.
On the turns, because of the late takeoffs, we're going to go ahead and try to squeeze them as tight as we can.
Yeah. Okay, keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Yep, we'll see you.
All right. The hot pits is basically an area where we can bring a running aircraft without shutting the motors down, refuel the aircraft, and then immediately send it back into flight if that's what we so choose. I got a lot of people I got to try to keep up with. whenever we're playing war games, they like to try to take people from us without us knowing it, and to try to keep account of everybody can be pretty tough at times. Upon return, that's where the job gets a little bit tougher, because you got to think about getting them refueled and then doing an inspection in between the shutdown and the weapons load, and then trying to get those airplanes back up in the air with minimum time. Normally no more than about 2 hours. For every hour of flight time that the aircraft accumulates, we'll put in 4 hours of maintenance time. Basically, when one of our fellow pilots taxis by, we'll give him the Panton eyes, basically let him know that, hey, we're ready, we're with you, push it up. That's our motto, push it up, because at the pace that we fly, that's all you can do.
Push it up. The Wolfpack is put to the test during the exercise. Keeping 56 F-16's flying requires an all-out effort by more than 2,800 personnel at Kunsan.
Good morning, you got the Wolf, and guess what? We sure got an exercise going on out there today, and we're gonna start off with a little Beach Boys this morning. Wouldn't it be nice?
In the warlike atmosphere of Kunsan, a band of brothers in formality. The disc jockey is the base commander.
I can honestly say that as a wing commander at Kunsan, it's like a pressure cooker. You never want the flame to go down where you lose the steam, but you never want the steam to get high enough to blow the lid off the pot. You want to keep people energized. You want to keep them thinking about what they're doing. You want to keep them excited about their mission. And you want to keep them focused 110 miles to the north.
110 miles to the north, a 10-minute flight for an F-16, are the MiGs of North Korea, some of them modern MiG-29 Fulcrums. These F-16 pilots will meet them in battle if the Cold War turns hot. But air combat is only part of their job.
In the past, pilots flew, and navigators navigated, and bombardiers put bomb sights on targets, and it wasn't that accurate. And today, one person, one 24-year-old lieutenant with 100 hours in this fighter can go out and put a bomb within 10 feet of a target in a high-threat environment.
The Wolfpack is airborne 2 shifts a day, 5 days a week, 12 months a year. During an exercise, planes and pilots are pushed far beyond that punishing routine. For Picasso, the first early morning sortie is just the beginning of the day.
We need to get 3 sorties in a 12-hour period. So about an hour prior to takeoff, that you get the jet ready going. You fly for about an hour, hour and a half. You land. Once the jet's on the ground, the crew chiefs and the maintenance guys, the fuel guys, the weapon guys, they do all their magic. Target, right it back. About 40 minutes, get to go up, do it again.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hack, 11:35, weather.
The second Wolfpack squadron is briefed for its next mission.
We got some problem with machinery, but as you can see outside, there's not a whole lot to worry about. The only cloud cover we have to worry about today is the...
A typical preparation for a mission will start about 3 hours prior, getting ready for the briefing, going through the mass briefing, the flight briefing.
Flying weather scattered about 6,000. That may be pessimistic. Looks like it's pretty clear out there right now.
As far as objectives go,
briefing follows briefing, squadron briefing, mission briefing.
Survive the merge if you can. Prosecute any errors that we make and have 100% valid kills anytime you say the K word over the radio. I'm sending you to high key to orbit.
Element leaders like Mayo choreograph almost every move in advance. With the converging speeds of jets, there is no margin for error.
You chase me through the overhead, and then I'm going to pitch out, and I'm going to direct you to rejoin with me west of the field, and we'll come back in for formation full stop.
Juvat wingman Riddler rolls in for a landing, his mission complete.
There's a lot of responsibility that goes along with flying one of these F-16s. It's a $25 million aircraft that the government is loaning to us while we fly it, And what that means to me as a pilot is that I have a responsibility to know as much as I can about my aircraft, about the mission, and about all the munitions that I can drop. Since Kunsan was my first operational assignment, when I go to my next assignment, a lot of the mistakes you make as a new guy, I've got behind me. But even more important than that, I've had a good, solid year of good tactical flying experience under my belt. I'm going to show up to my next unit already a very well-trained fighter pilot.
See it.
Push it up, Bill.
I've been flying the F-16 since 1988, so I've got a lot of hours in the jet. Started out as a wingman, progressed to flight lead, progressed to instructor, and then got the opportunity to go to weapons school. That's where I got this patch right here. And the good things about it is it makes me an instructor, and it allows me to fly more and teach people.
You know, we're lieutenants flying in the Air Force. We're the youngest guys in the squadron. The young guys having the most fun, pushing it up a lot, trying to learn how to fly the best we can. And so they all call us punks just because supposedly we're the ones that, you know, don't know anything yet, and we're supposed to learn from the older guys. They're the ones that try to teach all us young punks how to do it right, how to be good fighter pilots, and how to fly the F-16.
Picasso's second sortie. He will spend up to 4.5 hours in the cockpit today. The pace is brutal. The motto, push it up, push it up.
People expect me to be the expert. They expect to be able to get answers from me. Guys, we'll look to you for tactical information. We'll look to you to be a tactical leader in the squadron.
There's a relentless striving for perfection at Kunsan. Every pilot knows his first 10 wartime missions are the most dangerous. In Kunsan, the tension is real, the threat close by. When they go near the North Korean border, communist ground radar will often lock on to their F-16s, so they practice, in the belief that practice will make the difference between death and survival.
A lot of stuff to think about. Again, you have all those airplanes out there. You're working the radar. You're getting ready to drop a bomb. You're getting ready to shoot a missile. Everything's going on at once, and then you got to realize, well, hey, where's everyone else? Where's the bad guys? Where's the bad guys on the ground? Where's the bad guys up in the air trying to get you to? And where's all your friends? Okay, he's here. He's here. The bad guys are out here. Let's get our bombs on target. Let's shoot our missiles and get out of here before anything happens. I mean, when you're going 400, 500 knots. You're going 8, 9 miles a minute. You got to be thinking, 30, 40 miles ahead of you all the time is where it gets in, the mind starts playing where you just got to keep boom, 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 thinking.
We're all here to do three things. Defend this base, if called to do so, accept a lot of people, follow on forces, and then put bombs on target. And all three of those things are equally important, because if we don't do the first, we can't get to the third one. And so all these jets here are just toys. So that's what the Wolfpack's all about.
In first place, 7.5 meter CEA from the 80th Fighter Squadron, Squirrel.
Everything about our business is competitive. To get into a pilot training program is competitive. To get into an F-16 is highly competitive. You get that nature of person, you get a whole group of them together and they want to win, they want to succeed. We put turkey shoots together once a quarter, and what they do is they allow people to improve because they want to do better than the next guy. It's great. It helps the training out. It fosters camaraderie. Competitive nature comes out. Everybody wants to be a winner.
The Wolfpack at remote Kunsan, conducting its fighter pilot ceremonies and rituals, dedicated and ready for war.
I fly the F-16. I'm probably the luckiest man in the world because I get to do that every day. I'm a fighter pilot, and there's nothing better in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
In first place, low angle high drag, 6 meter CEA from the 80th Fighter Squadron, Lieutenant.
I got into an F-16, and it has just been the greatest experience of my entire life. It's amazing, a lot of guys, you hear them complain about going to work. Well, in our business, we would pay to do what we're doing anyway, and the fact that the government pays us, that's just icing on the cake.
Wolfpack is 2,800 men and women serving overseas, whose camaraderie, esprit de corps, attitude, and talent can't be beat, unsurpassed. It's emotional.